And we are bringing you guys our Pitt versus Clemson recap. A big victory for Pitt, wasn't that, Alex?
Oh, tremendous. It's a season-defining win. And who would have thought, Ryan, when we started the season 8 weeks ago, that we'd be saying Pitt is a better football team than Clemson?
And who would have predicted them to be 6-1 and say the early losses to Western Michigan?
I think, did I not predict them to be 6-1? I think I did.
I think we
did
both
them
did.
to be 6-1.
I think we both had them 6-0,
did.
then losing to Clemson.
Yes, I think we had it as a 10-2 season for both of us. You flip-flopped around a little bit. You're thinking 9-3.
Let me say one thing here. After Pitt lost to Western Michigan, the best I and a lot of other Pitt fans were hoping for was 5-2, and we thought that was a stretch. Now you're 6-1. You've got a good team. You got a Heisman candidate. You're ranked number 17 in the country. The first time under Pat Narduzzi that you've been in the top 20. First time in over a decade that you've been in the top 20. Embraces Pittsburgh. But first, let's look back to see what led up to this point. Pitt started with a win against UMass, then traveled to Tennessee in a big win over an actual very good Tennessee team who's put up some fights in the last couple of weeks, Alex. What did they do from there? You could take the back.
And from there, they lost, as we all know, all Pitt fans know pretty
too well.
They remember the pain of that Western Michigan loss on the 18th of September, 44-41, in a game where Kenny Pickett was phenomenal, but the defense was horrendous. From there, the defense has been excellent, Ryan. It's really been excellent. They beat New Hampshire the following weekend. They crushed them like they should. No surprise there. And then they went to Georgia Tech in the game that we were a little cautious about going into Georgia Tech. And had a good first 4 games up to that point. And they just crushed Georgia Tech 52-21. Then they went into the bye week, Ryan.
Yep, they went into the bye week feeling good after a big win at Georgia Tech, 4-1, headed into Blacksburg to play the Virginia Tech Hokies, who had a close game against Notre Dame. So you knew it was going to be a tough atmosphere. It was going to be a windy atmosphere, a rainy atmosphere. Pitt went in there, performed well, won by 21 points. Can't ask for anything more. The best thing from that game was they ran out the last 11 minutes of that game, just running the football. And that's what you want to see. They carry the momentum into a big game against Clemson. The Pitt fans came to that game. They rocked the world, 60,000 strong at that game. Student section was unbelievable. They used 6 overflow sections, and it was full. It was just a great game, a great atmosphere, and a great win. Just a big win. Another one of those games where they ran out the clock at the end. But let's talk about how that game started. And it wasn't the best start to the game, but they finished that first half very strong, Alex. Give us a little recap of that first quarter.
I would say that first quarter was a letdown in terms of, I thought they would be a little bit more prepared in that first quarter. The offense struggled.
The defense was good.
But the offense struggled mightily to get something going on offense. It seemed like the offensive line was getting purely dominated at the line of scrimmage, and from there, Kenny Pickett had nothing to work with. We had a fumble by Lucas Kroll later in that half, not in the half, but in the quarter. And then earlier in the quarter, you got a interception on defense. That was DeMar. That was Mathis, right?
It was DeMar Mathis, 21.
DeMar Mathis.
Yeah, but honestly, that might have been Pitt's line's toughest test, and I think that might have been their best performance, other than that first couple minutes of that first quarter. They bounced back, and those are some big 5 stars and 4 stars in that Clemson D line. Pitt don't even have 1 4-star on that O line. And they just pushed them around other than that first quarter. I mean, they dominated them. And that really gave Kenny Pickett that time to find some receivers as the game went on. And they pushed around those Clemson defensive fronts just to run the clock out. I mean, Clemson knew the run was coming at the end of the game, just pushed them around. But the first score was a run by Clemson. It was on 2nd and goal.
Yes.
That put them up 7-0. And Pitt fans like, is this going to be one of those another Pitt games? And Pitt didn't score the next possession. It was kind of back and forth from there. But then Pitt got the ball.
That was the drive.
Alex? You want to recap that drive?
That was a drive, Ryan. I'm sorry to interrupt. But that was a drive for Clemson there that felt like Pitt was a little out of sorts. It felt like an anomaly. As you looked at as the game went on, it really was an anomaly of Pitt defense being a little out of sorts, being a little out of position, a little out of sync, I should say. And after that touchdown, you could see Pat Narduzzi looking up at the scoreboard like, what just happened there? And that really set up the rest of the game, because the Pitt defense was
lights out.
Was lights out from there. Absolutely.
Yep, and a pick up the ball with a couple minutes left in the second half. I think it was 7 when they first got it. They drove down the field, some good runs and some good throws by Kenny. And on 3rd and 7, Kenny Pickett scrambled to his right. Addison, after just making a big grab on a couple plays prior, and actually on that play that a couple plays prior was, I think it was like a 30-yard pass. He caught it, got flipped over, actually hit his head, and actually put him in concussion protocol. But he came back out and scored a touchdown on the safety he was covering on. He came on quarter of the end zone. Kenny Pickett dropped in a basket for him, and wow, the crowd went wild. I mean, that was one of the loudest moments I've ever been at Heinz Field for. And Pitt tied it up 7-7, and then they never looked back from there.
And what a catch that was by Jordan Addison. Unbelievable catch. But then when he comes back in that game, he's the ultimate Swiss Army knife of that offense, because you can put him in a motion, you can put him in the slot, you can put him out wide. He can do anything you need him to do in that offense. And he converts in the execution by the Pitt offense from about, as you said, about halfway through that second quarter till the end of the game was on point. And as much as you prepare, as much as you draw things up in the boardroom, the execution is what matters the most. Obviously, because if there's no execution, there would be no performance. And the performance and execution of Pitt on every facet of that offense from that point on was fantastic.
And then Pitt forced a 3 and out. When Clemson got the ball back, Pitt gets the ball back, drives the ball down. 4th and 5. This was the greatest call. I was so happy that Narduzzi did this. It was 4th and 5 from the 40-yard line. And I thought they were going to punt it. I actually said maybe they should punt it here. Maybe it's a smart thing to punt it, not give Clemson a chance to take the 7-7 tie at halftime. Pitt did not do that. They looked forward, and they had a great play call, and Taysier Mack ended up in the end zone on play-action play. Perfect pass from Kenny Pickett to Taysier Mack. It was a great route, great call, and that put it at 14-7. At that point, you're like, is Clemson's offense good enough to even get back into this game? Like, it was 14-7. It almost seems like it was out of reach for Clemson at that point.
That Clemson offense is I don't even know how to say it. It's so weird to see a Clemson offense like this, because you're normally used to seeing Deshaun Watson. You're used to seeing Trevor Lawrence as the quarterback there. But DJ, I'm not going to attempt to say his last name, but he was.
Uiagalelei.
Are you sure about that?
Uiagalelei.
Okay.
Uiagalelei. It's Lele.
We'll go with that.
Lele. Uiagalelei. I'm saying.
Okay, we'll go with that.
I knew how to say.
We'll go with that. Yes, but he was abysmal that entire game. Besides the first drive when he had that he had a nice throw in that first initial touchdown drive for Clemson. But other than that, he was out of sorts. Only thing he can do, the wide receivers, I would give him
the benefit
of the doubt. Yeah, I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt there. The wide receivers that he has to throw to are not good. Like, this is not.
They dropped some passes.
Yeah, the dropping passes all over the place. There's no DeAndre Hopkins on this Clemson wide receiving corps. But he just had nowhere to throw to. The only thing he can do is run with his legs, and it was not enough. Not at all. And that team is not built to come from behind.
Yeah, and Pitt was just the better team. That was made clear throughout the game. Pitt probably should have won by more than 10 points if there wasn't a ref show in the fourth quarter. But, Kenny Pickett, he played like Heisman. He proved that he's the better quarterback in this game by a very wide margin. You can't even compare these two players. 303 yards to the air, 2 touchdowns. I mean, he had some big runs also. I mean, this is a good Clemson's defense. This isn't a bad Clemson defense. Their offense is bad, but this is still one of the top defenses in the country, and Kenny Pickett picked them apart.
He really did. He really did. Kenny Pickett, as you said, Ryan, really fantastic game. He was 25 of 39, 303 yards. You got 2 touchdowns there. And the run game, you got all 3 main guys contributed a lot to that run game.
Yeah, Ronnie Hammond didn't come into the fourth quarter, so we'll talk about Izzy and Vincent first. Vincent played okay. I mean, he just can't go the extra yards like Izzy and Rodney can. He's kind of shifty type of back, but he wasn't terrible. 12 carries for 30 yards, got some big runs when they need him on 3rd and short. But Izzy, he's a competitor. He knocked out maybe concussion. Nurse said he should be back for the next game, but it's just a cheap shot, which actually led to Pitt's final touchdown in that first half. But yeah, he ran hard. 9 carries, 56 yards. Ronnie Hammond came in the fourth quarter when they knew they were going to run it, and they couldn't stop. He came in, had 3 first downs on his first 3 runs. I mean, he was just incredible, and I'm looking forward to seeing if Pitt plays him. They got to play him against Miami. I mean, I mean, if you have that many 66 yards in the fourth quarter when they know you're going to run it, what is he going to do against Miami, who isn't that good of a defense? I mean, they have the most missed tackles in college football. I mean, I really, really hope they put him in. Maybe they'll put Vincent Davis in because he's kind of the shifty, makes people miss. But I really hope they rotate all three, and I'm gonna give Ronnie some time because he deserves it, man.
He really does. And he doesn't get out there a lot, as you said. He only had 11 attempts in the game. That's less than Vincent Davis got. But you got 66 yards on 11 carries, Ryan. That's 6 yards a carry. If you keep that up, and like Israel Abinaconda got 6.2 yards per carry, and he was only out there for 9 carries. As you said, he got because of his injury. But if you keep on averaging, I would say even more than 4 yards a carry, that's a phenomenal day on the ground.
Against a good Clemson defense too. This isn't a bad defense by any means.
Yes. And this isn't Georgia Tech. This isn't Georgia Tech's defense. This is Clemson's. This was a team at the beginning of the year that was in the top 4 in the country.
Yep. The wide receivers are good. There weren't many drop passes, though. Addison had, of course, another good game. You expect that every week. 5 receptions, 84 yards, 1 touchdown, and that's with missing the fourth quarter. Tayshaun Mack rebounded from his bad week last week. 3 catches, 59 yards, a touchdown. Lucas Krull had a bad fumble, 2 catches and 29 yards, but that fumble was really, really bad. Stovall had one really, really nice catch, but he had 2 catches total, 28 yards, but he had one really nice catch where he caught it. I don't know how he stayed up, but he got 20 yards on that catch, and that was a really, really nice one. Vincent Davis, he always seems to be that check down type of guy in the passing game. He had 3 catches, 24 yards. Bartholomew had some catches, and Shockey had some catches as well. So, yeah, a lot of guys contributing on all areas of the offense. So it's great to see the offense thriving. The defense is getting better each week. The O-line, it seems to be gelling more. They're getting better every week.
I want to say, one thing about the defense. Yeah, absolutely. One thing about the defense, Ryan, is Brandon Hill has been phenomenal on defense. He really has been. He forced a fumble this past game.
Yep.
He had 6 tackles, 2 assists.
He probably should have had an interception too.
Yes. He was phenomenal. Phenomenal game for him.
And Savachier Dennis, he's just been good all year. He was good last year. He had that pick 6, his first ever interception. I mean, he's a good tackler. His tackling was actually pretty good. A couple missed tackles on some QB runs. But other than that, the tackling was a lot better than it had been. And I like that going into this Miami game. And people say, oh, it's only 10 points. Not that much of a blowout. Clemson's a weaker team. Clemson was still ranked in the coaches poll and was 26 in the AP poll. So this wasn't a bad team. I know people say Clemson sucks this year. Well, they don't really suck. But this was a demolition by Pitt. I mean, 10 points doesn't really write the story. Pitt controls possession. The time possession, 35 minutes to 23. Had 9 more first downs. Third down efficiency, 11 from 19 compared to Clemson's 4 for 11. 1 for 1 on 4th down. Had 150 more total yards, 150 more passing yards. I mean, just a complete demolition by Pitt. I don't know. It just makes me mad. People say it wasn't a blowout. I mean, Clemson's bad. I mean, Clemson isn't bad. Pitt completely just kicked their butts this game.
I think it really reflects that in the AP poll. When you move up 6 spots in the AP poll, regardless of who lost the previous week, that shows that they respect Clemson enough to when Pitt beats Clemson to move them up by that amount. Six spots is a lot of spots in the AP poll.
Yep.
Especially going against a non-ranked opponent. A win against a non-ranked opponent, that's a lot of spots. And that shows how much Clemson is still regarded as a solid team.
Maybe it's because I didn't know this, but Alex texted me before the game and said Dabo just said that he thinks Clemson can still make the college football playoffs. So maybe that has something.
Yes, they said Sean McDonough on the broadcast, who was great on the broadcast as always. But he was on the broadcast and he said in their meeting with him on Friday, he said Dabo told him that we still have a shot to make the college football playoff. And he said, like, I don't know about that, but that's delusional. That is completely delusional.
The championship, but not the college football playoff.
No, especially not now. I mean, they would be lucky if they can get to 8 wins. Really lucky if they could get to 8 wins.
So now let's look at the coastal standings. Where does this win put Pitt? Well, it puts them 3-0 and in the driver's seat in the division, 2 games ahead of every team. And UVA is the biggest challenger. They're the only team that I really think Pitt. Pitt's going to be challenged by, and UVA's been playing really good football. I mean, they had a big win against Georgia Tech. They scored a lot of points. Their offense is probably the second best in the ACC, maybe even the best offense. They don't have the best quarterback, though. Yeah, but UVA,
Yeah.
they've improved every week. 4-2 in the ACC. They've won 4 straight ACC games. They play BYU, then Notre Dame, so they could be ranked by the time they play Pitt. So, yeah, they're 4-2. Pitt's got to take care of business the next couple games, but they're sitting in a good spot right now at 17th in the nation, first in the Coastal, 3-0, 6-1 overall. But let's look at the road ahead, specifically this week against Miami.
Well, I think if you look at Miami, Ryan, this is a team coached by Manny Diaz, who's on the hot seat. You're looking at a desperate coach and desperate team.
Yeah.
And you need to have the discipline and the intensity that Miami's going to have when they come out on the football field, because they're going to be ready to play. And that's why you got to be ready to play too. Yeah, it's not an easy game.
Big win against NC State, a ranked team, and they're 6-1 at Heinz Field. And they've had a tough schedule. They lost to Bama, UVA, and UNC.
Toughest schedule in the ACC.
Those aren't bad losses.
No.
Bama obviously is, and UVA is a good team. UNC is a decent team. I mean, they got a really good offense. But yeah, this Miami is not going to be a walkover. And then of course they beat NC State, who was ranked 18 last week. So yeah, that's going to be a tough game. Pitt got to come prepared. Pitt actually opened as 10-point favorites, which I think is a little high, but I guess it'll be Clemson by 10, so they should be able to beat Miami by 10. But yeah, it'll be a close game. Pitt should win it, but I think it'll be a tough one. I think Kenny Pickett will have a big day, but I think Miami's offense should have a pretty good day as well.
I think so. But I think Pitt wins this one by 14. I would say 10 to 14 points. But I think they're going to come out ready to play.
I think they know the stakes of the rest of the season.
Absolutely.
Narduzzi said, this was a big game, but it gets bigger next week. Each game, if we keep winning, is going to get bigger and bigger. I mean, they know it's Vache Dennis. I mean, he knows. He said, our main goal right now is AC championship, but in the back of our minds is if we can win out, we do have a shot to maybe get in the college football playoff, which I know is still a long shot. It's still a complete long shot, but it's good to know that's what they're thinking about. That should be the goal of any team that has a shot, to think about that. And you could say that maybe that's a good setting the tone, like first day practice or film session, be prepared for Miami, because of course we still have a shot for the college football playoff. It's a long shot, but we still have a good shot. And so if you're focused now, if we have a slip up against Miami, then we're not going to have a shot. Do you want to have a slim shot or do you want to have no shot? So I think that's the message this week. And Kenny Pickett said it best in his post-game interview. He said, I'm going to have a cold one, then we're going to get ready for Miami. And I think that just made the city of Pittsburgh love him even more.
I think so. I mean, this is a game for Pitt that's gonna generate some buzz. Yep. It's gonna get people talking around the city. This game, because Clemson is still Clemson. Yeah, Clemson is still Clemson. This is still a big name in college football. When you beat Clemson, and it doesn't matter the day, doesn't matter the time, especially LSU. I would say equate this to LSU. LSU this year, 2 years off a national championship, and they're playing teams that are normally, like UCLA beat them at the beginning of the year. Yep. And UCLA was overjoyed. Chip Kelly, overjoyed. We just beat LSU. LSU is not that great this year, but it's still LSU. That name means something. And when you beat somebody that has a name that means something in college football, or any sport for that matter, it's a big win for the program. It's a big win for the university, and it's going to generate some traction.
And I really hope the Pitt fans, city of Pittsburgh, get behind this team. You have a Heisman candidate as your quarterback. Your team is ranked 17th in the country. You're 3-0 in the ACC, 6-1 overall. Come out to the Heinz Field, support this team, and just enjoy the ride of this season.
Enjoy the ride, absolutely. And we'll be enjoying the ride right along with you, as we'll be back. Maybe we'll do this again next week, Ryan. Miami. We'll do it again next week.
Yeah.
There's no reason why we can't. We'll do it next week.
Yeah, and we'll have a podcast coming out this Wednesday. It'll be Wednesday this week instead of Thursday. Most likely that could change because Thursday we kind of have some conflicts, but it should be Wednesday. We'll preview the Miami game even more. We'll preview the Steelers game, and we'll talk about the Penguins, the Red Hot Penguins. So make sure to listen to that. And we'll also have a Bets of the Week segment coming up with Andrew Goss. We do that every week. So that's great. With a lot of things going on here, we're happy to do it. Thank you for listening. We were your one-stop podcast for everything Pittsburgh sports.